So let's welcome our today's speaker. He is Mr. Bjorn Harvold, co-founder of Traveliko. So please welcome Mr. Bjorn Harvold.
So I thought about how to make this the most exciting for you, and actually creating startups is super exciting, right? So I said, you know what? Let's start with something very simple. We're going to go through one of the most successful startups of all time. They're worth over, at this point, they said $13 billion. That's much more than that right now. And just see how it all started. And we go through each section. This is a very, very simple and beautiful template. Like they really, just the basics. They covered all the different check boxes that need to that interest venture capitalist investors, and then we talk about a little bit more reality of what it entails for you to actually do a startup company. Okay, and we can have questions as we go. Okay, so the problem. This is a while back now, right? This is Airbnb started 2003, I think. And basically they started up as Airbed and Beds, not Airbnb. And for 6 months, they didn't get one booking, not one booking. They were living on cornflakes, living in sleeping bags, had no money, all the 3 guys, and they're like, this is not working out, right? So they started looking at their website and started to think, ask themselves, why is this not working? Right? Because the concept right now, everyone knows Airbnb. I don't think there's one person in the room here that does not know Airbnb. So they started looking at the profiles on their website, and they're like, you know what? You know what really sucks? The pictures. The pictures suck. So what they did was they got a professional photographer. They went to the first Airbnb places and they took professional pictures. And from there, it took off. So they managed to create a product that way. So right now, the problem that they were telling, so at this point they'd already started, right? So they were just becoming profitable and becoming popular. So right now the problem in the travel industry, and this is how they were pitching the investors, is price. And I'm not gonna sell this pitch deck. We're gonna go through the pitch deck as going through how you sell. Problem first, right? So in this case, they say hotels leave you disconnected from the city. You don't have a connection with anyone. It's very impersonal. Airbnb can change that. And so the problem comes first, right? Then, right away, slide number 2, the solution. What can they add on and make better, right? So in this case, we save money, we have people make money, and you share culture by interacting. So right away, solution, problem, and solution. That's the most important thing. And you can download this online. You don't have to take pictures of it. Just do Airbnb pitch deck template and you'll find it. And then right away, number 3, they go, should we be here? Do we have a right to be in the space? Well, there is 630,000 housing sites on Couchsurfing. So Couchsurfing would be their closest competitor, right? Even though Couchsurfing doesn't charge any money. And also on Craigslist, 17,000 listings just in New York and San Francisco alone. So there's definitely a need for it. So they said, okay, market validation, there's need for other than hotels. We deserve to be here. There's something here that we have, that potential customers, right? Market size. Travel is huge. So I work in the travel industry. Travel is one of the biggest, so right now, 2020, it's going to be a $10 trillion market, okay? So it's a huge market. They're going into trips booked worldwide, and they say, what are budget trips? People who don't go for the 5-star hotels, people who go for lower end, and then they take about 20% of that and go, this can be us, right? Market size. So they're explaining again to the VC, very simple. And by the way, so the VC gets 100 of these a day. So when you write something, and we're going to talk a little bit about writing at the very, very end. When you write something, it should be very visual. It should be easy to understand. These guys are, when you read that many, if it doesn't stand out, if it's lots of small text, next. And they're going to get another one. They can make $1 million with you or with someone else. They don't really care who it is, okay? So make it exciting, make it interesting, add infographics, etc. Okay, and then let's show off the products. And this is one very important part of writing the pitch deck. You actually write the pitch deck after you have the product, right? You do not pitch someone an idea. There's so many new startup companies coming up, and they are protecting their idea like it's their firstborn child. It's like, I can't talk about it. No, we're working on it. I can't tell you. It's super secret. It's going to make me $1 billion. That is a lie. The idea is worth about 0.01% of everything. So if you have an idea, talk about it, share with other people. The actual difficulty is the implementation and actually creating it and making it, bringing it to life. That's the difficult part. So what VCs want to know is, have you created something? What have you created? Doesn't have to be a live demo. Should probably not be a live demo because it always goes wrong. And just your nicest pages, show it off real quick. They can look at, oh wow, nice, spacious, white, nice colors, cool, that's cool. This looks like something that could work. This looks like something I could book or use, right? So product. Again, you see one page, one section. Okay, business model. Very quickly, we take 10% commission on each transaction. That's it. Don't have to go into further detail. And again, they do some infographics where they say, well, this is our market from the last slide. This is our market. 20% is what we're making on an average night. And we're looking at this. This is the forecast. Also, let's see if this on the next one. It's going to come. Also, the interesting part of this is you already, when at this point, before you come to a VC, you have a product, you should also have your first or 2 customers. Don't come there going, I have a great product, because you could just hire a guy, make some pretty pictures. You actually, the business problem that you just solved on page slide 1 and 2, you actually should have some customers. Those customers doesn't have to be huge customers, but the investor needs to see that your idea is interesting enough that somebody wants to use it and somebody wants to pay for it, right? Okay, market adoption. Okay, so when you have a company, you have a product and you get out there, how are you going to get it out there? Very, very briefly, how are you going to compete with your competitors? How will you get your name out there? How will you be doing consumer marketing? Whoever your customer eventually is, right? In this case, they'll say, well, we're going to start going to events where people hang out. We're going to form these partnerships with these kind of guys, and we're going to use Craigslist a lot. Airbnb used Craigslist to a point of they got not suspended, but just blacklisted because they were using it almost incorrectly. They were really, really aggressive on Craigslist, and that's also something to think about. It's difficult to find your consumer. It's difficult to find them. Difficult to get out there. So whatever platform that you can use to your advantage, there's one example that was really popular back in the day, about 5-10 years ago, maybe even more, where when you log in with Facebook, for example, and they ask you, do you give permission to this company to give access to this information? What many, many, many companies did was, and we also want your friend list. The moment they have your friend list, you can just spam the shit out of everyone, and suddenly you have yourself a potential market. So if there's something that you believe that is good enough to go viral and not annoying that people just go, screw these guys, I don't want to, this is stupid, that's one way. It's cheap, inexpensive, right? Competition. So usually it goes on this kind of graph, X and Y axis. It's online, is it offline, is it expensive, is it affordable, is what Airbnb made, and they kind of put themselves over here. There's a lot of other things that we've never really heard about, but just to give them a quick visual of where do we stand in the market, what's going on right now, where do you situate yourself? Competitive advantage, how are you better than everyone else? Very simple. Again, you don't have to write a lot about this, but it's just, you need to have a reason for being, right? 9 slides, right? That's not a lot. That was not a lot of words either, but you all kind of got it. Just by looking at that, you kind of got okay, this is what Airbnb is doing. They're able to just convey the message, super simple. You'll be like, oh wow, this is cool, I want to try this out. And that's how they got their first investment. This was their draft first pitch of when they first got their first $500,000, I think. So that's the actual anatomy, right? It does require a lot of research. You need to know your competitors, right? You need to know your product. You need to figure out why you should build your product. You need to know how to make money. You need to know kind of how much money you're going to be making. Most VCs, if it's very early on, there's many different stages of VCs. So you'll have seed investment first. Even before that, you'll have friends and family. If you get started on something, if you're lucky enough to get seed investment, and we're going to talk a little bit about different investors. If you're lucky enough to get seed investment before anything else, it's actually not a good thing, because they will take a majority of your company, 40%, easy. Okay, so if you can stay alive long enough with friends and family, money, and it's really interesting. I don't know if you guys have followed popular news. So anyone know who Kylie Jenner is? Right there, extra star for that one. So she is now worth $900 million, right? And there was one of her fans who came on Facebook or the social media and said, "We have to make her a billionaire. Everyone, donate $100 million extra to make her." What? Like, really, what? She doesn't need another $100 million. So the interesting part about getting your first round of funding from family and friends is really they have no problem sinking in $100 into Nikes, anything that has to do with brand names, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, we'll spend $100 on this." But if you come to them and say, "Hey, I got this really great idea, what do you think?" And right away, you're going to be met with what you're going to be seeing all the way through your entire business. Are you good enough? Have you thought this through? I don't know, you know, and you get that. And this is something you will have to be fighting hard with throughout the every time you ask for money, every time you have to prove yourself, you have to start to sell yourself. And you have to really fine-tune your 15-second pitch to everyone you know. So, first thing, you talk to your friends and family, you get the money. If you can then stay alive long enough to get customers, right? And it's really exciting to run a company, but it's also, if it's being an entrepreneur versus working for a normal company, it's two entirely different things. We like to call ourselves at all the startups that I work at, chief bottle washers. We do everything. There's no titles. You just work your ass off from morning till night, and then you start over again, over again, over again. It never ends. It is in so much work that if you are not passionate, if you don't believe in your products, if you're just in it for the money, go and get a corporate job right now. It's not worth it, because you have to be borderline crazy. And it's going to affect your friendships, it's going to affect your relationships. But if you're sitting there going, you know what, this is awesome. And I usually go, the last company I worked at, I was co-founder for a company in New York called Lila.com. We bought the domain name for $100,000. And we had a Russian oligarch investor. He had like billions of dollars. We had tons of fun with his money. My department was spending about $400,000 per month on just my team. He said something very, very, very profound, that if you have someone on that level, get it. So when we all got together, we had beautiful offices on Broadway. He came in, and we were about 30, 40 people, and he goes, "You know what? If you want to build something new and successful right now, it has to be a good business cycle. It needs to be good for your customers, it needs to be good for your partners, it needs to be good for your employees, it needs to be good for everyone. You cannot recreate another Wall Street or something that's predatory, that takes away from that somebody's worse off after the day is over because of what you created." Okay? So if you're if you're looking for a way to motivate yourself, many times is, how can I contribute to planet Earth? How can I contribute to humanity? How can I make this a better place? And the moment you situate yourself from there and start to think, how do I contribute instead of how do I take and take my little slice, think changes. And also people who you work with will notice this as well. Especially in Asia as well, there is, in Asia there's a lot of talk about karma, right? In different continents we deal with it differently, but Asia is very much about karma. So if you say, I got this great idea, and by the way, we're giving 10% to charity. And right away they go, oh wow, if I work with you, that means part of that good karma is going to come to me too. I'm going to give you a good deal. It's also interesting too, it's also an interesting standpoint to work from, but number one, it gets you motivated, right? So you have your first funding, you stay alive long enough, you have a product, then you have some customers, hopefully, and you can start just to see, and you will learn so much from the very, very beginning. So this will become pretty easy by the time you're here, right? So you've learned so much right now that you had some customers, they've asked you a bunch of questions, they made you fine-tune your product, and at some point you go, you know what? I made $50 a month just with these customers, and if I have, and it's cost me about $5 per customer. If I have $100, $1,000, $1 million, I can scale this without it costing me a lot of extra labor manpower. I can automate and scale. The anatomy of a slide deck is to get funding, right? You don't necessarily, if you can avoid going after funding altogether and grow organically, best way to do it. Don't take other people's money, because they'll take your money, they'll give you money, but they'll take away a lot of your control, and they want a lot of say in how you run your own company. So if you got into it because there was a good article being written by another entrepreneur. He said, people look at us entrepreneurs and they go, oh my God, you guys are you're so cool. You work hard, you make amazing things, and you work all night, and you're just awesome people. And he goes, actually, we just make for really, really bad employees. And that's me. Working for someone else, I just can't take it. It doesn't work for me. So if that's one of your reasons, think very long about what kind of investor you want to put in your company, who will then have a say or seat on your board, whatever, to take your product to the next level. You might need them, you might not, but really think about, why are you getting into this in the first place? So the things that, this is just a pitch deck, this is just something you can send off. At some point, you'll be actually standing in front of the VC and you'll be pitching this. And it's almost like a theater act where you go and make him excited that by the time you get ready to leave the door, and he'll be like, can I just give you money now? That's kind of the goal that you want to do. That's the goal that you want to have. And there's some things here that you don't see here, and that's expected from all of you who wants to start a company. And that is, who is the team? Who is creating this? Can you guys even pull it off? What's your background? How do you know that this will work? And if it's just one person coming in, you're going to have a 75% chance of not getting any money, because you can't do it yourself. You need to work with other people who are equally motivated as you, but are equally talented in something else that you're not talented in, or might not even want to look at. You need 2 or 3 to pull that off. So they'll look at the team and they go, all right, they got 5 years of experience, they got 15 years of experience, they can do that. They have good synergy. They work off each other well. They work well together. That's a big thing too. Companies is always about people. If people are only in it for themselves and the money that you're going to get at the end of the day because the idea is so amazing, it's not going to work out in the long run. Then they're going to look at, what kind of people are they? Do they have integrity? Are these people who, if I give you my money, can I trust you with it? Again, it's another reason to show them who you are when you're talking. The most important part, or the most important quality of all founders, I can come back to this so many times, is passion. If you can convey that you're excited about your product, don't even pitch, because there's so many people out there who are so excited about the chance of being able to work by themselves and create something unique, new, exciting, that if you come in there and go, yeah, so we have this thing and it's going to be cool and I'm excited about it. Would you give anyone, that person, money, your money? Hell no. So again, this is pitching to a VC. It's an act. It's really about, you don't have to go over the top, but it's really about, you know, you've done your homework, you've done your study, you know your product, it's working, and I'm super excited about it. This is going to change the world. And they want to feel that, because if you work a regular day job, people just slowly dying, in my opinion. They're just like, you stand there and you go to meetings, that's all you do, and you're thinking, is this my life? And then you go, I want to create something myself. And that's the beginning. So again, come back to this. You have an idea, you create something with people who are equally good at what you're doing. You have a good synergy. You're passionate together about making something, because you are going to be making it for a startup from day one to when you can consider it really successful is usually 10 years. All right, 10 years. 5 to 6 years, you start hitting the tipping point. It does not happen over 6 months. Doesn't work. 10 years. So if you're willing to bust your butt and work insane amount of hours for 10 years, startup life is for you. This is the culmination, this pitch deck is the culmination of all the insights that you've had, what you've learned, and how you see the business going forward. And it should be, again, like this is a really, really great pitch deck. You can just download it and to take a look at it, and you can almost use that as your own template. And that could be your pitch for your own company. That's it for me. Any questions about building businesses? Because we had the anatomy of the pitch deck. That's one thing, but the pitch deck is really about creating companies and creating successful companies. So if you have any questions about, well, I have this idea, or how does it work to do this? This is the time to ask. I answered all your questions. My work here is done.
I don't have 10 years, and I wanted 2 or 3 years for it.
Very, very difficult. Because you're going to realize, first of all, it goes 10 times faster than you actually thought. I'm sorry, 10 times slower than you actually thought. By year 2 or 3, you've had at least 2 major issues that you didn't saw coming, or didn't see coming, and that's going to take you 6 months to a year to like, okay, oh no, I got to redo this. Or it depends on what businesses that you're in, but usually it doesn't move as fast as your mind does, and it just slows down. So if you know exactly what you're building, I want to work with you. But usually when you're coming up with an idea, you don't really know everything. So you kind of, and that's what I'm saying, the most important thing to create a startup is to stay alive. Stay alive so you can learn from your mistakes, because you're going to have some on the way. And if this company completely fails, you will have learned so much in the first one. So by the time you go into the second one, and the VC hears, oh, you did one before. Oh, what kind of mistakes? What did you learn there? That already you're going to have an extra gold star in your book, because this just comes up. So you have a product, but stay alive. It's not going to happen overnight. If you can just scratch by, don't ask for lots of money. Don't have crazy valuations of how much money your company's worth. Get by, be humble, get a little customer, give them a great deal, do it for free for them, and slowly build up your little portfolio. And that's alchemy. That creates gold. Anyone else?
How to put values when we are pitching ideas before starting? Like we have to pitch tomorrow and we don't have values. and they are unable to find the values in business model.
You mean value as in valuation,
Yeah,
or
valuation, like cost structure, revenue model.
Yeah. So VCs, when they first look at your pitch deck, and if you have crazy amount of forecasting, they're going to go, you have no idea what you're talking about, because you're really pulling these numbers out of your ass, to be quite frank. You don't know. You really don't know. So at that point, if you're not generating revenue yet, you can base it. If you have a very close competitor in the field, look at their last tax report and see, well, this is what the successful competitor is doing. But for you to run your own numbers in a completely new market, which is also something that you wouldn't want to say to an investor, this is completely new, no one has ever done it, and I'm going to be the first one. That's also like, really? At this point, pretty much everything has been done. You just want to make it stronger, longer, better, cheaper, whatever, and improve on that. So give a use case. This guy did it this way. We believe that if we scale it and do it like this, then we can do it for cheaper and we can make more money, right? Look at this template, Google Airbnb pitch deck, make it super clean, make it so the guy all the way in the back can understand what you're saying. Just really focus on the basics, and knowing that you usually don't have any experience, right? You're coming out of university, you've had maybe 1 or 2 years in work. It's okay, you don't know anything, right? That's okay. To really, you need to have 5 to 6 years experience to really know something. But if you want to make it interesting, entertain the judges, make it easy for us. I want to focus on what you're saying. I don't want to focus on having to read an essay on your pitch deck, okay? And just nice infographics, how you're going to make money. If you want to create a nice little fake product page, this is what my homepage looks like, this is how we do whatever, or however, this doesn't have to be software based, this has to be a website, that's just what I do. Really focus on the guy in the back should be entertained and should be awake for the whole thing. Because if all of you are pitching, it's going to be a lot of pitching. So the last guy, he's going to have a lot of work cut out for him to stay relevant so we don't fall asleep. So all of you kind of need to be entertainers, okay? So I would say do a run through in front of the mirror before you go online, before you go in front of us, and really passion, enthusiasm, you're excited about your idea, show us that you can make some money, and show us next steps, what you intend to do with it, you know, and that's enough. You don't have to say, hey, forecasting of $20 million per month in year one, and that's not that exciting. But we can pretty quickly see if it's going to add value or not. Okay? All right. Thank you, guys.